Alright, so welcome guys to another unboxing, and today we have the Blon Mini. So actually, I'm really excited to take a look at this for a while. It's similar in price range compared to your Blon 03s and Blon 01s, but actually in terms of the design, this is one of the bigger shifts in design compared to your 03s and 01s. So it will be exciting to take a look at this. And yeah, from the feedbacks of some people, they're saying that this still has, good sound on the ear. So we're gonna find that out. So let's unbox this thing. Of course, big thanks to WooEasy for sending this over. Links down below for their shop. So first, it's actually a long box. It's kind of like an Apple Watch box. Music and Dreams with the right spelling, and you do get that look, and mini as well. 16 ohm impedance, 20 to 20 kHz, 3.5mm L plug, and 1.2 meters in cable. Alright, so here you have an open tab. Opening it up. So this is your Blon, and yeah, it does have some Blon look to it. So you're getting that case similar to other Blons, and actually the cable is different from your usual Blons. This kind of reminds me now of the Moon Drops in terms of the cable. So I would say a notch up compared to what they have before, but it's kind of like a mobile style cable. The plug is smaller and not an L plug as well, and you're getting a mic also. So you have that gold trims as well. So really cool cable. I do like this overall compared to the previous cable. And you are getting some tips as well, similar to the previous Blons. Alright, so definitely in terms of the overall look, this is definitely a very unique look. One of the most unique looking that I have seen. So you have that curvature, and actually the build quality is really good. It's built of metal and good weight as well. It's also kind of a gunmetal color. It's darker than your usual Blons. I'm liking the color so far. I'm just worried of the fit on this on the ears, so that's what we're gonna figure out later. So now you have your cables in, and this is what it looks like. So it does look sleek for me, so the continuation of the cable to the IEM. So for the overall build quality, I'm actually pleased with the build quality. So the lobes is really built well. It has some weight to it. And also the cable as well. I do like the cable overall. So yeah, I would say they improved the build quality a bit on this Blon Minis. Alright, so we are now wearing it on our ear, and it does actually fit inside the ear. So the fit is similar to maybe the Moondrop Spaceship in terms of the insertion on the ear. And this is what it looks like. So yes, it is not a usual IEM look on the ear. So whether you like that or not, that will be up to you. But in terms of the stability, this is actually really stable on the ear. So it has that contours, which makes it really stay on the ear nicely. Comfort is actually really good as well. So it's quite breathable on the ear because it's an open kind of design. In terms of isolation as well, it is really good as well because it does go inside your ear, and yeah, it blocks out some of the noise. So let's have a first listen. So let's try to listen to some Let's Groove, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Alright, so firstly, it has that blonde bass at the bottom. So it has that boomy bass at the bottom, and big bass as well, and impactful bass as well. So yeah, the bass is front and center in this mix. So heavily reminds me of the Blon 03 in my first track. The vocals are still good in the mix, but actually on the ear, this might be a touch more aggressive than the Blon 03. But yeah, the bass is still really prominent in the mix. The vocals are still good for me. It's still full in the mix, but actually this might be a touch more recessed compared to the Blon 03. And this might have a bit of more brightness on top compared to the Blon 03. Yeah, but the vocals, I really like it. Yeah, definitely has that blonde sound. Let's try some That's What I Like by Bruno Mars. So yes, the bass is really front and center in the mix. Elevated bass. And yeah, this track, this might be a bit more lively than the Blon 03. So I haven't A/B tested yet. I'm just drawing from memory. But from what I remember, this might be a bit more lively to listen to. There's a mid-bass bleed in this as well. So yeah, definitely if you don't like bass, this might not be for you. It has still nice extension at the top. It has a bit of shimmer on top, but just a touch. And yeah, the vocal is really good in the mix. So it's a touch recessed in the mix, but not that bad in terms of the positioning. This again reminds me of the Blon 03. It's just a touch more recessed in the mix. This might have some hotness at the some snare hits. So definitely it has that snap in the sound. Maybe this also reminds me of the Blon 01 impactfulness, the liveliness in the sound. So maybe this is in the middle of the Blon 03 and the Blon 01. So again, I haven't A/B tested, but I'm just drawing from memory. But yeah, still the vocal is really big in the mix. Let's try some female vocals, Paramore, Hard Times. So the highs still has some extension, but it's not, the most prominent in the mix. So yes, the cymbals here still has good body. So the vocals and the bass for me is a bit more centered in the mix. Let's try some You Not Me, Dream Theater. So soundstage is above average. And in terms of the overall presentation, it's smoother still in the presentation. But if I remember correctly, compared to the Blon 03, this is a bit tighter, a touch tighter. But still, they're quite close. Let's try another track. So maybe some I Shot the Sheriff. It still has that maybe, smooth, lush vocal. But yeah, here in this track, it's a bit more recessed. So the cymbals here have fairly good body, but not the best bodied cymbals that I have heard. It still has a bit of thinness there, but I would say not bad overall. This is a very lively listen. Maybe it kind of reminds me of a TFZ type of listen as well. So here in this track, I encountered a bit of hotness. Let's try some BGs, How Deep Is Your Love. Yeah, but the vocal, even if, the positioning is a bit less than what I would like, the presentation is still full, lush, smooth. But yes, here as well, it has a bit of hotness there. So yes, this is more aggressive compared to your Blon 03. Your Blon 03 might still be more relaxed compared to this one. And the vocal is big and full in the mix. Separation is not that good. And because of the smoother sound, it's not that black and white to listen to. So this is definitely not something that you want to use for any mixing work. This is more of a casual listening, fun type of listen. The vocals are definitely revealing for me. But yeah, it has a bit of hotness. So that's one issue that I encountered. There's a bit of micro detail, but this is not the most detailed pair that I've listened to. But I would say this is a bit more close to the Blon 03 over the Blon 01. So let's measure this up, and I'm gonna give you guys more impressions later. Alright, so we now did some measurements on it, and yeah, it kind of confirmed my impressions that it has a TFZ kind of sound to it. So I did, put it side by side now in the measurements with the TFZ T2, and it has a lot of similarities with the TFZ T2. So definitely you have that bass elevation. So it's still a U type of shape. Both of them have that, and it has that peak at around 5K, but actually the Blon 01 has that peak at around 8K. So it moved a bit, and actually both of them doesn't have that 12K peak. So that's actually surprising because the Blon 01 has a 12K peak. We're gonna show that later. So you don't have that 12K peak. So that's similar to the Blon 03. The Blon 03 also doesn't have a 12K peak. So yes, that's why maybe I think it's in the middle of the Blon 03 and the Blon 01. So looking at the measurements, so from the bass region, you're getting that dip going to around 800 hertz region. So yeah, the dip is really big on this. So it's definitely a U-shaped sound on the ear. And from the 800 hertz region, you're getting that slight elevation at around 1 to 2K. And after that, it goes down to around 2 to 3K. So this is one of the bigger ones in terms of the recession that I have seen for a Blon. And after that, it goes up with the major peak at around 7K. So this gives it more treble energy. And then after that, it goes down to around 12K. So you don't have a 12K peak here, which might work for some. So comparing it to the TFZ T2, you're getting that similar dip at around 800 hertz region, but actually from the TFZ T2 it doesn't have that dip to around 2 to 3K. It goes up right away to around 5K, and then after that it goes down. But yes, they do have a lot of similarities. Both of them have really substantial bass. So if not, I think this might be the reference of the Blon 01. I'm not 100% sure, but yes, they do have a lot of similarities. So compared to the Blon 01, so actually the Blon 01 has similarities as well. So actually the Blon 01 is less bassy in the measurements and has some more brightness on top with the Blon 01 compared to the Blon Mini. So from the bass region, you have less bass in the Blon 01. Actually, going to the mids region, both have that elevation at around 1.5K, and actually both have that recession at around 2 to 3K. So that's actually surprising. But the recession at around 2 to 3K is bigger in the Blon 01. After this, the Blon 01 goes up with the first peak at around 5K, and the Blon Mini, the peak is again in the 8K regions. But this is the major difference. The Blon 01 has that 12K peak on top. It has that double horns at the top. So usually we see that nowadays in several IEMs. But yeah, the Blon Mini doesn't have that 12K peak. So if you don't like the 12K peak on top, actually the Blon Mini might be for you. So I'm looking at the Blon 03. So the Blon 03 doesn't have the 12K peak as well. So that's why maybe it's kind of like in the middle. But the Blon 03, the mids is more forward in the measurements. So that's why maybe I think the Blon Mini has, more recessed mids than what I would like, more recessed vocal than what I would like. So looking at the bass elevation, they do have similarities. In the, bass elevation here, the bass is really prominent in the mix. But actually, yes, the mids, but actually going to around 800 hertz region, you're getting that rise in the Blon 03 to around 1 to 2K. And yes, the Blon Mini, the recession is around maybe 5 to 8 dB in the mids region, so it's actually substantial in the mix. But actually both have still that maybe recession at around 2 to 3K region, and then it goes up to around 6K, and again the Blon Mini has that 8K peak, but actually the peak in the Blon is more pronounced compared to the Blon 03. So maybe that kind of explains that it's a bit more lively in the Blon Mini over the Blon 03. 03 is a bit still more relaxed in the mix for me. But actually in the air frequencies, you do have that elevation in the Blon 03. Not that much elevation, but the Blon 03 does have that 12K elevation at the top. So for me personally, I find this signature really interesting. It's the first time that I have seen something like this, maybe a TFZ-ish kind of sound on the ear. So this kind of signature might work for some people. Alright, so we now did some further listening on the Blon Mini versus the Blon 03 and the Blon 01 as well. I did find this to be in the middle of the 03 and 01. You have some features of those two IEMs and then put into one. So it's still a Blon sound overall, but with some differences, and the tuning as well is a bit different compared to your other Blons. So versus the Blon 03, so firstly on the ear, the Mini is better fitting than the Blon 03. So if that's your issue with the Blon 03 before, it's now better in the Mini. So the Blon 03 is still more relaxed on the ear. It's a smoother sound overall. It's warmer and still has more boomy bass as well in the bottom. So for me, the vocal in the 03 is still fuller. I still prefer the positioning in the Blon 03 as well. So the positioning in the Mini is a bit more recessed in the vocal. So fuller body as well in the cymbals in the 03 and less peaky to listen to in the Blon 03. So yes, it's still a smoother sound, a more relaxed sound on the ear in the Blon 03. Compared to the Blon Mini, so the Mini has more brightness on top, has more clarity on top. It's more V-shaped to listen to. So definitely, as from the title of this video, it's more fun of a listen compared to your Blon 03. So it still has that fullness and the liveliness in the vocal region, but the vocal in the Mini is still a bit thinner than the 03. I still like the vocal though in the Mini. It's still a Blon kind of vocal, which is something that I like. But yeah, it's a bit cleaner in the overall presentation. So actually the whole IEM, the Mini, is a bit cleaner still. It's less smooth compared to what you get with the Blon 03. So the bass also is tighter in the Mini. It has a more impactful bass as well. It has more hotness though in the listen in the Mini. So that's one of my issues. And the Mini is tighter in presentation as well overall. So again, it's kind of like in the middle. So different signatures here. So the Mini is definitely a more V type of shape. It's more fun. It has more of that elevation at the top region. It has more highs there. So the Mini still has, good presentation in the vocal region, but definitely more recessed than the 03. The 03 is definitely warmer, smoother, and more relaxed on the ear. So here it will depend on your preference. So if you didn't like that much bass in the Blon 03, the Mini might work for you because yeah, the bass is a bit tighter, the separation is a bit better, and you have that clarity as well at the top. Compared to the Blon 01, so again, the Mini has better fit compared to the Blon 01. The 01 has tighter presentation overall, still has substantial bass in the 01, but the bass is tighter there. It's faster bass for me, and a bit more toned down in the mix as well in the 01. Again, the 01 has that more clarity at the top. That's that 12K peak. That's that double horns at the top, and yeah, it gives you more clarity in the overall listen. Their frequencies as well is more pronounced in the 01. The vocal for me is thinner in the 01. Yeah, the presentation of the 01 is still a bit more clean, tight overall over your Blon Mini. The Mini has more boomy bass. So if you found the 01 to have less bass than what you would like, you might like the Mini in this regard. The Mini also has more warmth in the bottom. The bass again is more prominent in the mix. A more smooth sound as well in the Mini. The vocal also is smoother and fuller in the Mini overall. So yes, a more tight in the 01. It's also more relaxed as well in the listen in the mini. So yes, for me, the 01 is a more enthusiast kind of listen on the ear. You have that tightness in the bass, clarity on top. The mini is more fun, stronger bass as well. So V, but more fun. For me, yes, choosing between Blons. So if you like more elevated bass, go with the Blon 03. If you like a fun kind of sound, a more TFZ kind of sound, you might like the mini. And if you like a more enthusiast kind of sound, a bit more clarity at the top, you might like the Blon 01. So all of them have, different usages, different pros and cons here. Alright, so what do I think about the Blon Mini? I do like the listen here overall. So I do like that, even if it doesn't have that fullness of the vocal of the Blon 03, it still has really good vocals for me. Even if it's recessed in the mix, that's better separation for me compared to the Blon 03. That's more of that clarity at the top as well. So, more V type of shape. Which gives you a more fun, energetic type of listen. It also has really nice fit on the ear, and the bass is still substantial but now a bit more controlled. But of course, in terms of cons, this might be too much bass for some people. So if you don't like bass, this is not something that you would want. This still has that Blon kind of bass on the ear, and this might have some hotness as well for some people. So especially in that vocal region, it has hotness in some tracks. So yes, not the most tame vocals here. So yes, it's not without its cons. So yes, for me, I think this might work for some people over the Blon 03. But of course, it will be up to your preference. But for me, I'm liking my listen in this. In my personal preference, I might like this more than the 01. I think it's a well-built IEM and really good value as well. Especially the build quality is really good. The cable is better as well. So yeah, even if this is not a review, I would recommend this for those people who like the signature that I mentioned. So yes, that's our video for today. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next zpolt review. Goodbye.